All right, everybody, welcome along to the Griffiths to Cock Stable webinar. So today we have a special guest with us, Shane Wright. So welcome, Shane, and I'll let you introduce yourself and what you do with Kia Ora.
Thank you, Corey. Thanks, Matt, as well, for having me on. Sorry, Robbie can't make it tonight, but I'm sure we'll survive without him for one night, so we will. I work for Kia Ora Stud. We're a stud farm here in the Hunter Valley in Scone, a bit of an epicenter of breeding in Australia, obviously. We've got a farm here that it goes across all aspects of breeding. So we've got stallions, brood mares, and then we obviously breed, sell weanlings, yearlings, and also have horses in training ourselves. So, whether they be fillies that we're looking to keep and retain into the brood bear band going forward, colts, we're hoping for that, illustrious Group 1 to retire to the stallion barn, or whatever the case may be. So, we kind of cover it all, really. And, say we don't have a huge amount of outside mares, but we do offer client service for anyone looking to get into the breeding game, or also use our stallions, or, whatever the case may be to do with sales.
And we've also got, obviously, the other half of the partnership with us. So welcome, Matthew.
Thanks, Corey. Looking forward to an interesting evening with Shane on one of the best stud farms in Australia.
I also noticed, Matt, that Robbie left today to go to Queensland, and you're in the office there, it looks like. So have you just gone back there to make it look like you've worked harder today?
Yeah. I'm going to sleep here tonight to get an early start for tomorrow.
Yeah, well, you've only got about 4 hours until you start. So.
There you
go. And all right, Shane, what I did want to ask before we get into the Kia Ora stuff, and there's a bit of on the stallions and that type of thing, but how did your journey take you to Kia Ora?
Oh, the journey, I suppose it's quite scary to say, but the journey is probably about 22, 23 years ago now, really. I don't think the accent can fool anyone. I've lived in Australia for 15 years, but very much Irish, can't escape that. But I don't really come from a horse background in Ireland. It was just something that really appealed to me. I started doing riding when I was a kid. There was a couple of small stud farms around us that I started working on for a bit of pocket money on weekends and things like that. And, it kind of just all blossomed from there. And eventually I kind of realized that, I really like this. It's something I want to look into going forward. And I was working for a very good guy at the time called Eddie O'Leary. He owns a farm over there, Lynn Lodge Stud, a very successful farm, bred some very good horses. Actually sold one of the breeze up in Arcana yesterday for $1 million, I think it was, Justify. But he really, looked after me in the early stages, and he actually got me on the Irish National Stud course because he said, you can go and you can learn your trade. And, there is a thing that if you want to work with horses, some people have it quite naturally, and, some have to work a lot harder for it. But on top of that, you really need all the theory behind it as well, why we do what we do, and what difference we can make to these animals to give them a much better life, and two, a successful racing and breeding career. So I done the National Stud course, and really enjoyed that. Met some amazing people from all around the world, connections I still have, and ended up working in the Irish National Stud for a few years after that, mainly in the stallion barn. Maybe showing the age a little bit now, but I remember a first season sire coming in by Invincible Spirit. And he was a good racehorse over there, and we had him for the first season where he was trading at a pretty low service fee, and the rest is history for him. He's been a breed shaper in Europe, and definitely when you look at what he's done down here, ironically, I left Ireland and thought I'd come to Australia for 6 months when I was about 21 and just do the normal thing, go travel, do a little bit of work, and I ended up in a farm called Yarman Park that's also based here in Scone. And I was there, and within my 6 months there, I kind of realized that Australia was the place for me. I absolutely loved it. I loved the way of life over here, just the people, and then obviously the racing as well, and everything that entails. So it was a very, very quick decision for me to stay over here. And say, going back to Invincible Spirit, in my second year at Yarman Park, I Am Invincible happened to walk in the gate, and he was a stallion. Obviously, he came second to take over Target in the Goodwood. He won a DC Mackay. He had a bit of a portfolio, but he wasn't taken very, very seriously. And I reckon we were trading noms at 6 and 7 grand in that first and second year. And well, the rest is history for him. He's obviously champion sire in Australia, and I don't think you can look at the paper any weekend without him actually breaking a new record. So I was very, very lucky to be surrounded by very good horses the whole way through. And I was only in Yarraman for maybe a year and a half or so. I was about 22, and just kind of all fell into place. I ended up getting the general manager's job there, and I was there for about 12 years all up. And opportunity and came a knocking to do something a bit different in Kiora. And the Yarraman is owned by two great guys in Mitchell brothers, and they taught me so much, and I can never repay them for that. But they also cast big shadows, so it's good to get out and make a name for yourself as such.
Yeah, I think you've more than done that. I think you're fairly well known across the entire global thoroughbred industry. And I was just going to touch on that, Matt. Obviously, yourself being South African, landing in Australia. Obviously, I'm an Aussie, so a bit boring in this chat. Shane coming from Ireland, but every race day you go to, there's people from all nationalities, and it really is a sport that it's very, very closely knit, considering the fact it goes across the globe.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's a global industry, but as you say, through Shane's experiences and even my experiences traveling around the world, you've got friends in every corner of the globe. So it's a fascinating sport where you can pick up the phone to someone, across the other side of the world and ask for advice or ask for some input, and everyone's happy to help each other, which is also great. And we're lucky enough now to have struck a nice relationship with Shane and his team. And we're looking forward to going on that journey as well. And lovely to hear Shane's background. He's gone through some good schooling. The Irish National Stud and Yarraman are two fantastic farms. I did the English National Stud, so we'll have to debate which stud is better. But
it's not a debate.
Yeah,
it was a great course as well, and both courses, I guess, stand young people in good stead going forward. Put good foundations into people, and you can see how Shane's so successful, and both courses have had successful people go through their courses year in and year out.
Yeah,
definitely. Sorry, Corey. I was going to say, I completely agree with Matt. I mean, you work hard in this industry, and you get to know people. But as Matt said, having connections all around the world, and I often think about it as well, because when I worked at Yarraman, we had all the Shadwell horses in Australia. So quite ironically, before I even knew Matt, we were sending 25, 30 yearlings over to South Africa every year, going into the Cock stable. And there was great success through some of those yearlings, horses like Fat now going up and winning in Dubai and things like that. So although it's a huge worldwide industry, it's also, it's quite a small industry. And when you know someone and you work in this industry, as Matt said, you've got a friend in every corner, which is it's quite a great way to live life.
And what we might touch on, Shane, now, I've been a little bit biased here, as you can see. I've put up Mike's champion, a Goo there, which
that is very biased.
Gets a great run on this webinar. She's been the topic of many discussions. And obviously on the left there, Sarah Sana winning the Group 2 this year, which you guys retained half and race with us. And Luke was saying he was going to stir you up about the webinar, so I thought we'd put his big head on here as well and make sure that we could get ours back.
I can't believe you got the camera to focus without him wearing a hat. So that was a good effort, so it was.
And then if you'd just like to touch on a few others, but I'll run through a list here. Loving Gabby, which everyone in Australia would know. Exceed and Excel, a graduate. Wellington, who's just returned home, I believe. A Goo, of course. Wild Ruler, and then I'll let you take the floor from there and tell us about the 5 million others.
It's been quite a prestigious farm over the years for some amazing horses coming off it, and we believe in keeping it all very simple here. It's a very good country. all the horses that live here just get the prime chance to grow, and you can see that in the results. I mean, you've touched on some of the very good ones there. Obviously, Wellington, he was a Hong Kong champion and won the Chairman's Sprint twice, along with other multiple Group Ones. But he only returned home to us last week. Actually, it's quite a great thing, especially with the Hong Kong horses, when you can offer them a forever home. And he's out here. He's already made a friend in the paddock, and he's loving life. And he's just such a beautiful nature horse. It's very tempting to get the saddle back on him, actually. So it is. He could be the next project horse. But yeah, and then you move into some more prominent ones in Australia. Obviously, Wild Ruler won a Moir. He stands at Newgate Farm now. I think his first weanlings went through the ring this year at Inglis, and there'll be more here at Magic's. But to have a stallion standing at stud with your brand on it, I think that's the pinnacle that any stud farm wants to get to, because them elite colts that can win Group Ones and then stand at stud, and fingers crossed for Henry and the Newgate team. He's got a very successful future in front of him as well. But that's what we really aim to do. Anyone in breeding really wants to breed to an elite level, and we're very, very lucky here at Kiora. Say we have the facilities, but we also got access to buy some very nice brood mares, not only from Australia but also around the world. We've bought very good mares out of America. Wild Ruler's Dam is one example of that. And even this year we bought a beautiful Group 1 mare from South Africa that's getting imported in. She's nearly on her way in. So we've got an opportunity as we can access bloodlines from all around the world that we really think will fit Australia, and also our own stallions, which gives our stallions, we believe, a little bit of an enhanced chance when you can bring mares from around the world that you really think suit them. Just carrying on from that, a very important factor is the people around you, the staff we have here at Kiora, the way they care for these horses, and they have done for many, many years. It is a life of love for the animal. It's not easy work. No one will ever tell you it is. It can be long hours. But when you love the animal and you love seeing the results on track and the results in the sales ring, it's very, very rewarding. So we're quite lucky with all the aspects we have, that we get every chance to be right in that top tier, I suppose.
Yeah. And Matt, obviously you have a little bit of a bias, but you'd say a Gugu is the best of the lot.
Oh, definitely, without a shadow of a doubt. No, she was a hell of a mare, Gugu, and that whole family, we've had huge success as well. Nagaga for the Platiners in South Africa, and then going down to Tarka that we raised herself. It's a beautiful, beautiful family, and we've got some daughters in that family that we're mating up. And then I even seen a chairman's sale there on Thursday night. There was another sister in the family, Boddington and Foal to Extreme Choice, that sold for nearly 400,000. Just the exact figure escapes me, but it's such a relevant family, and it's such a strong family the whole way through the page.
And we'll touch on a yearling we actually purchased from that family soon, Shane. But your three stallions, if you wanted to sort of give us a little bit of a rundown on Kia Ora coming back into standing stallions. And then there's a few questions there just on, how you identify them, how you acquire them, that people might, find interesting. And it's not something that everybody knows about in the industry, but it's certainly interesting how you put it together.
No, for sure. Well, Kiora, and we're going back, 115, 120 years here, was one of the founding and, most prominent farms in Hunter Valley, along with the original Sedgenhole, Wakefield, Widden. And it stood a lot of very, very good stallions back in that time and across centuries afterwards, the likes of Magpie, Gunsin, Baguette. There was a lot of champion sires that stood at Kiora. And, there's been a couple of different ownerships over the last, 40, 50 years. And the ownership it's in now there was no stallion standing here when that ownership was taken over, but we did hold a lot of shares in some very good stallions. Obviously, Deep Field was one, then some really good stallions like All Too Hard, Headwater, Advinery, among others. And coming here, it was always a dream of standing stallions again from the ownership point of view. And it just so happened we were kind of looking at maybe taking Prague on. We loved his credentials. He's a son of Duke's choice. He was a very, very good 2-year-old, Group 1 placed, and then one of the top colts of the year. And we were looking at him, and the opportunity actually came around to purchase Farnan as well. I mean, as anyone in this game knows, to have the opportunity to stand a slipper winner is just, it's the elite of the elite here in Australia. Slipper winners is what have worked time and time again. It's what general breeders are very, very comfortable breeding their mares to. And, it's a very, very high success rate as well. So, from, what we thought would be a modest startup turned into a much larger scale startup very, very quickly. Considering all this happened in the space of a year, and we built a stallion barn, covering barn. Basically, the whole stallion facilities had to be built and be set for the start of that season as well. To have those two boys as our inaugural horses coming into the barn when Kiora got back into the stallion business was very, very exciting. And the whole trip through, like the first foals, some of the mares, both of them have covered our, the who's mares of Australia. And now going on to see how the two of them have done in the yearling sales, we couldn't be happier with them. They're super exciting, the barns or the stables they're in, the trainers who's training them. And now we just play a little bit of the waiting game. It's not going to be long. What is it, 4 or 5 months to the first trials of the year are coming around. So to have two well-credentialed sires having their first 2-year-olds in a couple of months, it's kind of gone like that. It just seemed like yesterday we were pouring the foundations to the stallion barn, and here we are. But in the same aspect, we're quite lucky because second year in, we were able to acquire Captivant, the best son of Capitalist, to hit the track and retire to a barn. And obviously Capitalist is a very good stallion himself, and he's the best son of Written Tycoon, the sire of the slipper winner this year. And it's a bloodline we really wanted to get into, and Captivant himself is just the most beautiful horse. Group 1 2-year-old winner as well. He won the Champagne Stakes, and he was very consistent the whole way through his 2-year-old career. He ran in the whole Triple Crown, ran very good races in all, and then eventually took out the Champagne. And but even looking further into that, as a 3-year-old, he came second in the Caulfield Guineas, and he came second to Animo. And I don't think there's ever been a horse since that has made Animo sweat like that. He really put it up to him, and we all know how good Animo is. So to have a horse of that caliber, from the Written Tycoon line, he was a lovely add-on in the second year. So we're very, very happy with our 3 stallions. And as starting to kind of point into some of your questions, it's when you're trying to identify these stallions that you want to stand and stud, it's an everyday work. You're checking the results every day, you're checking replays, you're watching trials, you're just seeing if you can see something a little bit X factor in the early days that you might be able to acquire early. As we know, the stallion market in the last couple of years has just gone through the roof. When you're trying to acquire a Group 1 winner, and you're talking tens of millions now, and it's a large punt to take. But if you can find the right horse and you can get the right structure around it, it can be worthwhile. But acquiring them before they hit that Group 1 is a very good way to do it. And even our structure and the way we do things here at Kiora has slightly changed in the last 2 years, as in we've really got back into the yearling market, buying both fillies and colts. But all the colts are bought with a long-term goal of standing in the stallion barn. As we know, it's not as easy as that. You can't go out and buy 5 colts and get 3 stallions, sadly. If you could, I reckon everyone would be doing it at this stage. But it's a bit of a numbers game, and you have to just really trust your judgment by good physical types that look like they'll run. And here in Australia, if they can run early, it's always a huge advantage. And also buy them by sires and out of families that are really think will be appealing if they do stand in a stallion barn. So when you're at a yearling sale and you're looking at these horses, and the number one point is to get a racehorse long term, but you also have to short term, but you also have to look long term and be looking at, if this is in my stallion barn, can I get people to send mares there? And is he something that I'm happy to send 20, 25 of my own mares to? So you have to be pretty vigorous in the selection criteria, because we never want to stand a stallion at Cure that we're half-hearted about. We want to stand one that we get fully behind, fully committed to for his career. Send some very nice mares, really invested in him. We're not looking for other breeders to make our stallions, but we really hope they'll be there with us for the ride as such. But we're more than happy to put in the hard work as well. So that's how we kind of look at it. Let's say the yearling structure is really taken up. We have a touch over 15 yearlings going into training this year around Australia with plenty of different trainers, and hopefully there's a couple in there. We found a couple of nice ones last year. It's always the way, you can never give out about it, but our best probably looks like Anisa. She won the Group 2 Percy Sykes. She won the Merson Cooper, and she looks to have a big future ahead of her. But then in the coals, we have Prost. He won the Canterbury Stakes. He was second to Stormboy in the Skyline, and he ran a couple of big races in the Slipper and Sires. So just some bad barriers and things like that. But we think he's a very nice horse going forward. He's very closely related to Shinzo, actually. So he's one, that's done enough at 2, and hopefully he can come back at 3 and, really show everyone what he's all about. And even there this weekend, we had one that took a little bit longer to come out, but Tropicus ran very well at Caulfield, won on debut. So he's an exciting one by 2 Darren Hot as well. Hopefully we can aim up for some big races in the spring.
We bought the half. We have the half sister to him, so we were quite happy with that, Shane.
Nice result. That hopefully we can both help each other out in upgrading that page.
So speaking of which, Matt, your father is obviously one of the world's best trainers, but he also seems to be the luckiest man alive with a couple of these yearlings that we've purchased. If you want to just run through the 2 that are unraced, which we had a bit of luck with.
Yeah, well, obviously the one you just spoken about, Wooden Basset filly that we purchased at Easter sale, which is a half to the good horse of Kiora's at one on Saturdays. Always exciting when the family starts to come alive. And then last year we bought a Written Tycoon filly who is the half to bit of blank now, the Group 1 winner that won the Epsom
Celestial Legend. Yeah.
Celestial Legend. Yeah, so only paid 160 for her, so that's looking like it's a shrewd buy at this stage. So we're very chuffed with those 2.
Any shares left in the Wooden Basset, just out of curiosity?
Yeah, there probably is, Shane. We'd be able to work something out.
You'll be able to work something out. We might talk more tomorrow if there's any left.
Yeah, well, Mike owns, I think, a fair chunk, so you'd have to hassle him, but I'm sure we can do that. So just going in now. So obviously, your stallions, Shane. I might just ask Matt a couple of questions. Matt,
yeah.
One of the reasons I got Shane on was because it wasn't obviously we have Sarasana and Kia Ora races with us, and in the past, Agugu was bred or came through the Kia Ora draft. But when we went to the sales, we didn't go to the sales looking for Farnans and Pragues this season, but we ended up landing 4 of them, and I'll let you sort of speak about why. This is the first.
Yeah, Corey. Yeah, well, we go to the sales every year and with an open mind, and we identified specifically Farnan very early doors. His horses, his yearlings, really stood out as lovely physicals, good clean legs. They look strong and mature enough to handle 2-year-old racing, which would be, pretty evident given the fact that Farnan was a slipper winner. So we're excited to dip our toes in the water with regards to Farnan. We bought 2 early doors. And then obviously we bought in partnership with Kia Ora a 3rd one at the Easter yearling sale. So we're really chuffed about them, and they've broken in well. They look like they've got good minds on them, which is important for 2-year-olds. So, that's really exciting. And anything that you can buy with the M3 badge as well these days is good. You're buying M3 is Kia Ora's brand, and when you're buying off their farm, you're buying good quality as well. So to buy horses by Fawn, and like Shane just said, they put a lot of time and effort into picking their stallions. So we trust in that as well. Prague, this Prague filly, which you can see in front of us, another one of Kia Ora's stallions. We like this filly. She was a good value buy for us. She was low price out of obviously a fantastic family, as we've beaten on about close to my heart and to Kia Ora's heart. The family of Agugu, she was extremely tough. Obviously, the M3 badge on her shoulder as well. She always went out there and tried her best. So yeah, a horse like this Prague looks like it's going to be up racing nice and early and have the scope to improve given her dam side as well.
Yeah. And Shane, this one doesn't have the M3 badge on it, but it almost should have had, because you actually sold the mare in foal, I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah, no, we we done the mating on this filly. It's been such a strong family the whole way through, as Matt said, and we really thought the influence of a reduced choice stallion across Seneda, who's obviously in that very good Aguga and the Gaga family, would work really well. And I remember seeing this filly at the sales up at Magic Millions, and she was a beautiful type, and she was everything that we thought it would be. Obviously, when you have stallions, you have to get numbers to them, and you can't keep them all, sadly, as much as sometimes we would love to, especially when we go and we see a filly that we done the mating on and conceived, and then we sold, and you see a lot of people making good profit on you. But that's the way the world works. The good thing when people make profit on you is they keep coming back. It's it's a good circle, so it is. So when we can help people out like that, and they come back and they use our stallions, it's a very good way of building up relationships and things like that. But no, we couldn't be happier with how this filly came up when we seen her. And I think obviously the influence of Deep Field in Australia racing, although sadly he's not doing it anymore. He had a hell of a good start, and I think that cross will work very, very well with him. Obviously, Northern Meteor's off to a flyer. Sorry, a very good stallion with Zoostar, who's off to a flyer. He's just had his best season ever, and there's a lot going on. And then there's a lot going on in the family as well. It's a very good fillies family, and there's so many young mares coming through that family as well. You wouldn't think you can fit much more black type in there, but I reckon there will be over the next couple of years. So I thought she was very well purchased, this filly. At a reasonable price. She's everything you could want, and it just looks honest and tough.
Yeah, I think we paid 80,000, and there's around 20% of her left. So if anyone's interested, she is looking like one of the. To be honest, all four of the Farnan and Pragues, they all look like they're very shrewd buys, as Matt said earlier. So get in contact if anyone's interested, and then we'll go to marketing stallions, Shane. So obviously, my job with the stable with Matt and Robbie is obviously to pump our tires up and promote the stable and get as much on social media as we can. But there's a huge marketing machine that is behind all of these big stud farms, and that must be a huge amount of work. So if you could sort of go into how stallions can create momentum, how you can gain market shares, and how important it is that you kick goals early.
Yeah, no, as you mentioned, there's so much goes into it now. It was even 10 to 15 years ago, it was very different. It was all about getting on the phone calls and building relationships, which, is probably what I'm still very keen on. I've built up some great relationships and great clients over the years, and that's what I'm really keen to cultivate those. But marketing has come into it completely different now, with the use of social media and everything else like that. So, you cannot hide anymore. You need a product that people will get around, because, you can look up any stat, you can look up any replay, you can look up anything you want. So you really need the product, and it's about having the product. And then also as, the momentum to bring that product forward and, show people just why you believe in it. And I think that's a big key to it, because a lot of people will get behind their stallions and they'll say, well, this is the reason we like our stallion. But then, it's the backing that up. We believe Farnan could be the next big thing, and we are sending a lot of quality mares there that that can make this horse. So we are putting all the odds in his favor. So that's sort of momentum. And then when you've seen the foals, we had a little clip on social media there early in the week with the first foal out of Lighthouse. Obviously, the Coolmore Classic winner. Very good mare. And first season she went to Farnan, and we've got a beautiful colt that'll be going to sales next year. So, I think it's not just momentum, but it's also belief. If you don't have proper belief in your own product and you're not happy to get behind them, why should anyone else? And then I suppose it's just portraying after that how much and the support you get, because market share is not an easy thing. It's the same in the stables with you guys. There's so many trainers out there, and everyone's looking for their little bit, and that what makes the yearling market harder when you're trying to find a yearling that you want to sell to your clients, but you want to do it at value. there's a lot that goes into it, so it does, and then you need the results on top, I suppose.
Yeah, and I guess it's the same for us. I mean, you can promote a product as much as you can, but the product has to be really strong. And I might just touch on that. Obviously, with Sarasana being the first of our relationship, and now we've purchased a yearling at the sales. I'd love to know your thoughts on obviously the stable's progress and your experiences since you've been in the stable.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I remember you guys were down when Sarasana was a yearling at Easter, and, really fell in love with her, as did we. She had a very good mare called Twilight Royale, who had, a very good race mare, Group 2 winner. She had produced a listed place horse as well, but she had a lot of horses, and she was just getting to that time in her career where you weren't sure how she was going to go. But Sarasana herself, she just looked like, she looked like a bullet. She just looked super fast, great constitution on her. And you guys obviously bought her, and we follow all the stables around. Obviously Robbie's been doing it for a long time. As I say, I knew Matt's dad, Mike, with the Shadwell horses, so it all just kind of fit into place. And the stable at that time, I think it's a compliment, was really starting to come up in the table, and really show what it was about. So it was something we were keen to get one in the stable, and because it's all about client service as well. You can get one in, but if you just become a number, it gets a bit old pretty quickly. But you guys, I think a good difference is you can ring you anytime, have a chat, get along, even meet at the sales, and dare I say, have a beer, and you can sort out the problems of the world as such. So yeah, there was that Farnan filly at Easter this year. She was kind of the same shape as Sarasana. Looked very ready to go. Come off a good farm in Alma Vale, Kitchener Hills. We were very keen to have her, and obviously she was on your guys' list as well. So more than happy to go into partnership with that one, and see if we can go 2 for 2.
Matt, I guess if you want to expand on that, obviously, it's great to have the support, a great partnership in that filly with Drakenstein Stud, who's, South African farm along with Kia Ora here. So 2 big farms. And I mean, you've kicked the goal with her, but she's a beautiful filly, and you need the product to kick the goal, right?
Yeah, exactly, Corey. And it's nice to have the tick of approval from big players in the industry like Kia Ora and Drakenstein Stud Farm, to give you the confidence that you can purchase the horse, and they're going to back you up by retaining a share. So they're confident in you, they're confident in their product. And then for all the stars to align and for her to win a Group 2 and really cement her value as a broodmare one day is just, it's satisfactory that you reward, people that believe in you. So we're extremely ecstatic about that. And then it's obviously awesome to continue the relationship again this year with another yearling. So we really appreciate that. And with Farnan, we're pretty confident we can get 2 for 2 for sure.
Definitely. It just means you have to keep putting up with Luke for a while longer. Sorry about that.
The underbidder was Henry anyway, so that it's not a Henry Field from Newgate, so that's not a bad judge either there, Shane. So I think we might have landed on the right one.
Definitely, because we went up against Henry a couple of times at that sale, so it was good to get one over him in the end. So that was down to a bit of support from you guys as well.
All right, on to the Farnan. So this is the first one that we purchased. I'm not sure. Obviously, you have seen a lot of Farnans, Shane. So I'm sort of testing your memory on some of these. But this was purchased at the English Classic sale. We purchased it for 90,000, I believe. Is that correct, Matt, or 80? Something around like that.
Yeah, somewhere around there, yeah.
Yeah, and she's our ladies' horse. So we have Ariane Titmus, the Olympic swimmer, gold medalist in the team, from the family of Piarata, who we have our little filly To Be or Not To Be, who's already a Group 2 winner. And obviously, I remember Robbie absolutely loving this filly, and it was the first one that we could land a blow on.
Yeah, no, I remember this filly well. She was actually bred by a very good friend of mine, Dr. Richard McClenaghan. He owns a smaller stud farm the other side of Stone, Mullaglass stud. And if you're looking for one tick of approval for a start, he's the breeder of Hellbent obviously the sire of Vendetta that won the Goodwood on the weekend. And Richie, considering he's got a small number of mares, he's meticulous in his matings and really puts a hell of a lot of effort into it, both on the page and physical. And I have to say, he'll come back and tell me I've said this, but he gets it right more often than he gets it wrong. He's very, very good breeding. So when you're buying one with his brand on it, a lot of thought has gone into it. And this filly at the sale, perfect horse for a syndicate like this, because she was picked up, basically at a bargain price. I'm going to be honest with you. I thought she was a very athletic filly with so much quality, and you can just see her getting up and going early. So you can not a hugely heavy sort of filly, more of an athletic frame, but just really nice, really forward moving about her, and she had a lot of class. You get the right color silks in her. There's a big group of girls there that could have a lot of fun on something like the Ottawa Stakes or something like that on Melbourne Cup week.
Yeah, and Matt, from all accounts from the breakers, I mean, all of the finals are doing well, but this one in particular, we've had some rave reviews coming out from Tim there, and also the breeder actually retained a share in this one as well. So the lady syndicate will be very excited, I think, early with this filly.
Yeah, they will, Corey. They won't have to wait too long for her, and the breeders and the breakers have been very happy with her. She's just having a little bit of time there now and getting into the routine of doing things. And we've had a lady syndicate horse last year that ran second at Caulfield in a maiden there, so they're having a bit of fun already. And one thing about the Farnhams this year is they've been very viable, but not in a negative way. They've been very fair. And when you go to the sales and you like one, they're actually affordable. They're not out of reach, and that's a real big plus for anyone that's buying out of first season sire who's a Golden Slipper winner. So hopefully we've got in early and all the Farnhams start winning next year, and they become valuable prospects and probably too hard to buy in a year or two's time.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
But no, I feel like this, with the price you paid for it, you can have 1 or 2 days out and she can be completely paid off, and you can be in front, so you can, which is, it's such a good thing about Australian racing where it is at the minute. The market, when you're trying to sell yearlings, it is a bit of a buyer's market at the minute, but that hasn't changed the racing environment and how good all the prize money is and how many races there are out there for them now.
See for that. So, and I might start with you on this one, Matt. So it's a bit of an obscure pedigree, but I remember you noticed this filly, and we were struggling to get Robbie on the phone, and you just absolutely loved her, and we had to have her. So we put our heads together and decided we'd bid anyway, and then Robbie rang halfway through us bidding, and he was on board as well. So we're all pretty happy.
Yeah, she was a real standout physical. She's very athletic, very strong, almost looks like a colt. And maybe it's an obscure pedigree to some, but it's a nice American family where I think there's 14 or 16 black type performers just on this page that we're looking at now. So a lot of top quality racehorses on the page. And another one that, based on what we've seen at the breakers and her mind and her physical specimen, she should be running early and going for those early races.
Yeah, and there's just I think she might be sold on our website, but there's a tiny 5 or 10% share there, isn't there?
Yeah, and again, she was only $100,000 from the Magic Millions sale, so she's got the options if she's early enough and mature enough to go back up there for the Gold Coast races in early January, which would be very exciting.
And Shane, testing your memory again, do you remember this filly at the Gold Coast?
It doesn't take much testing at all. I remember she was in Ollie Tate's draft to Twin Hills over on the left-hand side barns, and we looked at her about 9:30 in the morning, and I remember thinking, this is the hottest day I've come across in Gold Coast in a long time. And this filly got pulled out in front, and I had to check my catalogue about 3 times because exactly what Matt said is correct. I thought it was a colt. I'm like, no, there's a typo here or something. And no, it was a filly, but she's a big, strong forward girl. We really, really liked her. I say she just looks so powerful. So she did that. She genuinely looks like colt, even in the photo that you guys have up there in the banner, you can just see the natural muscle tone, which is very like her dad. He has that. He doesn't. I think it's a story with a good 2-year-old. A good 2-year-old doesn't take much work because they're just naturally fit and athletic and ahead of the rest of their peers. And she's one exactly like that. She's so naturally muscled and forward that I think you'll have a lot of fun with this filly. And as you say, there's plenty of residual there. Be it American, I don't think that's a negative at all. Pedigree, as I said, we bred Wild Ruler out of an American mare. If you look at the Chairman's sale, it's just gone. A lot of the big prices all have big American pages now. It's become a very relevant market here in Australia. So the residual value on this filly before she even hits the track is no more than enough, and I reckon she'll be writing her own dinner ticket anyway. She looks like she could be very fast.
Definitely doing well at the breakers. I get footage every week or so from Tim, and you can tell when they're excited about horses, Matt, and both of the Farnans. Every time the two that are with Tim, every time he contacts us about them, he's talking about how switched on they are and how easy they are to do things with.
Yeah,
absolutely. Sorry, Matt, go ahead.
No, that's all good. I was just saying again, just reiterating that so far our experiences with them have been all positive, and they're just really mentally strong horses and seem to be enjoying their work.
Yeah, and I just also wanted to mention for those that are following, if you wanted to pop any questions in, we've got a couple of bits to go, and then I'll have questions for Shane. So if you've got any questions there about anything, just pop it in the Q&A up the top. I see there's one there already, and then we'll answer those at the end. I also wanted to give a little shout out to Dale Maguire from High Caliber Racing. So Matt, he came down last week and met us, and we've teamed up with High Caliber Racing, the syndicator, to race the Ole Kirk colt out of Lunar Impact, so a WA Oaks winner. So anybody interested in getting involved in him, you'll see High Caliber posting on their socials, and very exciting new syndication. Well, they're not new. They've been going a while in Queensland, but newish to Victoria and looking to make a splash. And hopefully that will be with us ongoing for many years. So welcome along, Dale, and good to see you on the webinar as well. And then on to the last one. So I won't even ask you, Matt. I'll let Shane talk about this one, because with all those Farnans that you breed yourself, Shane, you went out and said, look, we want to buy this one. And you guys, is she on your list? And she was on our list. And we went in the ring, or we didn't go in the ring. We went up into the Kia ORA box and went to war.
We did want to go to war, but it was a very worthwhile war. We've really got behind both the Farnans and the Pragues, and again, starting with the Captivants now, mares and foals and weanlings, etc. But we had to spend up a little bit of some. We paid 1.2 million for a Farnan colt at Magic Millions, and a couple of other higher price ones as well. But at Easter, this was one of our top picks in the Farnans. She just very nice filly, unbelievably balanced, nice pedigree as well. Divine Prophet and Prozier, obviously two stallions doing very, very well. But also something we liked about this was the fact that she was out of an Excel mare. Exceed and Excel mares are just worth their weight in gold. We're trying to get our hands on as many as we possibly can. Obviously, he's just been retired from duty, and Ananda Krishnan, the owner of Kiora, was part of the breeders of him, so he's a horse very close to his heart. But and this filly came out of the box, we just loved her. She just looked, everything we look for in a racehorse, and she had the pedigree to go with it. So, we're very, very happy to buy her. And obviously, when guys like you are very, very keen on her and you want her in the stable, going back to the success of Sarah Sana, who's quite a similar type of filly at the same age, it all kind of worked in well. And we had a bit of competition on her as well. She wasn't an easy buy, but that gives you hope that when all the right people are there trying to buy them, that you've picked the right one. But at this stage, she's a champion until proven otherwise.
Yeah. And Matt, it would be fair to say, from our opinion, that the Farnans did have a bit of a type, didn't they? When we went around the sales, you almost knew it was a Farnan once you saw it, which was it's always a good sign.
Yeah, he's stamping his progeny, Corey. And again, this filly was just testament to what we had seen throughout the sales season, and what we liked about the finals is a lot of strength and good conformation, clean legs, and a good mind on her. So we're also massive fans of Exceed and Excel mares. They just work so well. And so we're very excited to have this filly in the stable. And we got the update the other day that she's going really well. So I'm really looking forward to having her in for a first prep.
All right, so we might stop and go through some questions now before we wind up. So, Shane, the first question is from Peter Stanley. He says, your stallions have a strong Danehill influence in pedigree. Would you like to try and have other bloodlines in the future, or stick with the Danehill lines?
Oh, it's I don't think there's any right or wrong answer to that. You're looking for the right stallions. He's very correct. It is a strong Danehill presence, which in Australia is not easy to get away from these days. And even Captivant in his dam line, even he's a Written Tycoon sire stallion, but in his dam line has Danehill going back in it too. So if we could find an amazing credentialed outcross that we really want to stand, we're more than open to it. We're not biased towards the Danehill stallion line, but we're also very aware it's worked very successfully in Australia for a long time now.
And Matt, did you have any questions that you might have for Shane?
How was the merging with you and Binary? How's that going, and how's that changed things?
Oh, it hasn't made any big changes in any particular way. The day-to-day running of the farms are both the very same. Obviously, Vinery's got a very, very good management team in place that have done an amazing job, over the last couple of centuries, basically, or sorry, the last couple of decades. Not centuries. I wouldn't be happy with me saying that. But breeding horses like Farm himself, Russian Revolution, Artorias is a very, very successful farm in its own right. And all the merger does is bring two farms that are well able to breed good racehorses, bring them together, in a top level with purchasing bloodstock and things like that to really enable us. Because as I mentioned earlier on, trying to buy stallions or even the top end broodmares now, it's not an easy thing to do. So, it gives us a little bit of a more powerful stance in that aspect if we ever need to use it. And there's also some very good partners in it that, Kiora has been friends with for a long time, and has also had success, as I mentioned, breeding horses like Exceed and Excel, etc., like that.
Thank you.
I think that might be it. If there's any other questions, shoot really quickly. But before you do, my final one, Shane, we probably haven't touched as much on Captivant. Obviously, he's only got weanlings now, but how were they received in the weanling sale just recently? I know there's only been one, but if you can sort of touch on that.
Yeah, no, he had some nice stock down there. It was a tricky market, especially in what we call that middle market. So he had some nice ones down there. People seeing the sort of quality animals he can throw, but I think Magic Millions would be a lot more of an important stage for him when we really get to see them, because we couldn't be happy with what he's throwing here. We've got some very good foals on the ground out of we got a very nice filly out of Lonro mare that was a Group 2 winner in America. Another one out of a very nice mare, Perfect Rhyme, that was placed in an Oaks here. I think what Captivant brings is, he was a pre-Christmas 2-year-old himself, as I mentioned. He won a Champagne. He's going to be a very versatile stallion. Capitalist is obviously known for his 2-year-olds, as is Written Tycoon. But I think the Captivants, he will get 2-year-olds, and he will get very fast early 2-year-olds. But I think he also brings to the table a longevity where you can get fillies and colts that will train on into their 3 and maybe even 4-year-old career. So he's going to be very versatile, and I think he could be quite an important stallion for Australia because, as the first question went to, we are pretty heavily Danehill, and we're very reliant on 2-year-old speed, and as it is what works here in Australia, but there also has to be a little bit of deviation and give people other options too. So, looking at Captivant and what I think he might do, he could be very important in the future with in racing Australia in the future.
Blair Richardson from Vantage Hill, a breaker. I had a filly that was being broken in actually for Matt and Robbie would have been going back, would have been a couple of years ago now. And I remember him distinctly saying at the time that Cap Devant was the best horse he'd ever broken in, which was interesting. And he's broken into an absolute champion. So it was interesting that then Cap Devant went on to be quite, probably didn't reach the heights he could have on the track, considering how good he actually was. As you mentioned, he ran into Animo. If Animo's not there, his record's even better. But yeah, pretty impressive athlete.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you look at that Caulfield Guineas, his rating was high enough to win that Guineas the 5 years previous. He just ran into a freak that day at Animal. But no, this was a high caliber racehorse that done it at 2 and 3, and he's got everything there in him. And I say that Written Tycoon sire line. Obviously I said Written Tycoon sire is slipper winner, and now that Written Tycoon's down in Yulong, although he's in his twilight years, he's still covering the very best mares in Australia, just about. So it's a sire line that it's come good, and it's just about to peak again, I think. And we're very happy to have one of the leading sons in that line going forward.
Yep. And Dale Maguire asks, obviously from a syndication point of view, what are some of the key elements when you go to a yearling sale and you're trying to pick a first season sire? And being a syndicator, there's a high risk when you're buying a first season sire, the same as for us as trainers. But what are some of the key elements you look for in a first season sire to have confidence?
Oh, it's I think everyone goes with slightly different eyes and what they're looking for. Using my own horses as an example, Matt touched on it earlier on. The majority of the Farnans are very much in his mold. Normal size, very strong, very forward horses, clean. Not just speaking about Farnans, but when you're looking at any yearling at a sale, you want them correct, because it's all about risk assessment as well. Everything you're looking at the percussion of how they hit the ground, and how long, because you want them to go a full career injury free with no setbacks. So the more balanced, the lighter on their feet movement they are, and their conformation is a big thing. And I think when you start looking at first season stallions, and you look at 5 and 10 and 15 of their horses in a row, you can really get an impact for what that horse is throwing, whether he's throwing ones that are, naturally muscled and good movers, or, ones that might take a little bit more time, or whatever the case it is. So, if you can get a stallion that throws an atypical type, and it's something that you're comfortable with. And as I say, I'm using Farron as an example because he's my own horse, but these horses are very much in his mold. But there's also quite a lot of not a single doubt in them. Obviously Farron's grandfather, and I think that's where a lot of the good temperaments come. Because as Matt said earlier on with the breakers, the thing we've learned is we've sent a lot to get broken in. We'd have 12 or 13 farms already broken in, and the breakers say at the end of the 4 weeks, they should be coming out, but they kind of want to go on. They just, they really, really love their work, and they're absolutely thriving in their work. So, I dare say they will be hitting the track early, because they're just that sort of horse that they'll just keep improving and getting better.
Yep. And Matt, I know that we buy a lot of first season sires, and we've had some that haven't panned out for us, but our statistics are very, very good for picking first season sires within the stable. If you want to touch on the secrets that maybe our formula when we're looking at first season sires.
Yeah, if I touch on the secrets, then everyone's going to do the same, Corey. What kind of all the information out?
We've had
a bit of luck. I mean, to be or not to be this year, first season, Pierrada, group winner. She was picked on a couple of things: a physical specimen, all the normal, great pedigree, great female line, off a good farm in Wooden. So a great sire or great racehorse himself, Pierrada. So they got to tick all the boxes, Corey, and it's naturally all the boxes most people are looking for. But the most important one is that we want to train that horse. We want to wake up in the morning and put a saddle on that yearling, because we love that yearling. So if we can leave the sales with yearlings that we love, which we think we've done this year, in Farnan and Prague, then it's job done so far, and hopefully the rest will work itself out.
Fantastic. I think that wraps it up, guys. Thank you very much for your time, Shane. I know that just like trainers, it's tough work and early hours and long days, but I'm sure everybody that's watching would echo our sentiments. So it's been a really interesting and informative webinar. And you guys are kicking goals everywhere, including yourself. Well known, well respected, and a really good gentleman to have around the industry. So thank you
First
very
time
much.
I've been called a gentleman in a long time, I can tell you.
Well, I have to make it sound nice, you know. So,
No,
yeah, go on.
Yeah, no, I was going to say thank you for having us on, guys. It's always good to have a chat and a catch up. And you know, best of luck in the next coming weeks, and also next year. You bought a lovely bunch of 2-year-olds this year, and you know what's not sold out, I'm sure will be very, very soon, because it's just a very good collective bunch, and I reckon there's a big year coming.
Thanks very much, and thanks, Matt, for heading to work to do this, and good luck with the mattress on the floor. Thanks,
Corey, and yeah, just thank you again, Shane. It was even for someone like myself that's been in the industry for a while, it was a fascinating listen, and we love the farm and the team, and we thank you for your support, and thank you for everyone on the webinar as well. Thank you for watching, and we'll be in touch soon.
No problem, guys. Thank you.
You guys, bye.